Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cultured Pull List, part of the Cultured Universe Podcast Network. This week, we're actually going to be talking about I don't know, I guess, adventures at Motor City Comic Con this back weekend and like the comics we collected, kind of like what we look for in comics when we're at a con, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. This week, I'm joined by my friend James, or apparently James. So,
Yeah.
how you doing, James?
Pretty average.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I'm being honest, probably me too. There's not
Yeah,
a. Most days are kind of average, but
most days.
average is usually pretty good, though. So, average could be pretty shitty, but
I agree.
yeah. So, we went to Motor City Comic Con this past weekend. We've been going generally, like, almost every year for the last, like, 9 or 10 years now.
Yeah,
Um, but I'd say, like, what we do, at least what I generally do and, like, collect has changed a lot. Um,
that's
when
true.
I when I was younger, I think I bought some comics, but it was usually, like, action figures or just, like, random stuff. I mean, I didn't really have much money, so I was just kinda like, this looks cool," I didn't really, like,
Yeah,
actually pay attention to what I was buying.
yeah. That's what I did my first year. I was 13, and
Yeah,
I just went in there, and I had like probably $50, and they
yeah,
had a lot more. Um, 10 years ago, they had a lot more 50-cent comics and 25-cent comics and stuff more so than they do now. And
yeah.
I would, just whatever looked cool. I would just
Mhm.
pull them, have a humongous bag, and by the end
Yeah.
of it, I didn't even know what I had usually. I was just like, "Eh, whatever."
Right. Well, yeah, that's actually a good point that things were kinda cheaper back in the day,
Yeah,
like
usually you can't find a 50 cent anymore
no.
because this is not profitable. Usually, you'll be able to find $1 comics, but they're a
Mhm.
lot more scarce.
Yeah.
Usually it's like 2, 3, maybe 4, but
Yeah, I think we saw, like, maybe 2 vendors that had a lot of $1 boxes this year. Most of them were,
yeah,
like, like, either on the sale or, like, 2 or $3 or, but it used to be
yeah,
back in the day that, I say back in the day, it was less than 10 years ago, but still feels like a long time
back in
ago.
the day.
But, it used to be that most of the vendors would have, like, a bunch of 50-cent or dollar boxes, and that was almost
Yeah,
everything. The only thing that was more expensive was, like, the really rare, comics or, like,
yeah,
slabbed
stuff
ones,
on the back wall usually, or they'd have a
Yeah.
couple boxes set aside that you
Yeah.
could, pick through, but
Which I didn't
when you're
even
a kid, like
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's more than $1. I can't
Yeah.
afford this."
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even give that stuff more than a second glance because I was like, I don't even have, like, a quarter of the amount of
Even
money I
though
need?
most likely if I had, like, put my mind to it, I looked through
Yeah.
that box and I bought something through that box, it'd probably be worth more than, like, anything I
Oh,
bought at the
I mean,
whole con.
yeah,
Because
if
there is
you
a
like
50-cent box for
Yeah.
usually for a reason.
Right, no, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, if you saved all your money, you could probably buy, like, 1
Yeah,
or 2, like, good comics, but back then it was, like,
but
quantity
usually
over quality.
that's not on your mind when you're,
No.
13, 14 years
No.
old. You're just gonna like, "Excess,
Right.
excess."
Well, yeah, and I remember, like, back then too, like, I never, like, met any celebrities or got pictures or anything
Yeah,
because it was so
I was just there.
expensive. Yeah. Yeah, which, like, as I've gotten older, I've definitely done, a lot more of that because I have my own money to spend on it,
Yeah,
I'm not, like, just doing odd jobs as a kid to get, like, $100 a week, That
yeah.
kinda stuff, yeah. But, yeah, so this past weekend was pretty cool. Let's kinda, like, breeze through some of the stuff that I/we did besides comic stuff. Then we'll get to like comics. But yeah, so well, first off, we met Giancarlo Esposito. We got a fun picture with him.
Yeah, that's
Well,
pretty
it
cool.
it doesn't look fun, but it was fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like
really,
the
yeah,
look on his face. But yeah, like as soon as we um lined up with him, he was like, "Let's go, pollos," or whatever. Like crossed his arms and went like, "Give me chicken or give me meth."
mm,
Yeah, it was funny. Like I got to
it
meet a
was.
few other people as well, like Katie Sackhoff. Then the next day I went with my mom and we saw Zachary Levi, which was fun. We actually saw his panel as well, which was pretty cool. He pretty much just like the whole panel was just him answering fan questions, pretty much.
Okay.
And that was pretty fun. Like he just kind of like he gives really good answers, and he had like a like I mean like he stood the whole time. He had like a lot of energy. Like not that like the other
Yeah.
panels, you know, like well if you sit down you're boring.
Usually
That's
they
not what
don't.
I'm.
Usually they don't stand up the whole time though.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
he would just talk about a lot of cool stuff and like his book as well. That came out I think last year. He talked a little bit about that stuff, and that was pretty
Mhm.
cool. You know, and he talked about I guess he's doing a Chuck rewatch podcast with the guy who played Morgan. Forget his name, like
Oh, okay.
yeah, something
Garcia or something.
Gomez, I think. Yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
and I guess the idea is he's gonna, you know, like he's gonna do that podcast, and he's hoping you know a lot of fans download and tune in and stuff, and then hopefully he can take you know the numbers to Warner Brothers and be like, see, there's still a big fan base for the show. We should make a Chuck movie. So
That would be cool.
yeah, he's been trying to do a Chuck movie for a long time, but you know, never really got off the ground. So yeah, that'd be cool. Hopefully that ends up going well. That'd be fun
Yeah.
for all the Chuck fans. I mean, I haven't watched that show in a while, but I remember
Yeah,
you
me neither.
you actually introduced it to me, and then I introduced it to my mom when we watched it. So yeah,
Yeah,
fun times.
I watched that. I watched probably like the first 4 seasons or something,
Hmm.
like initially, and then I just for some reason fell off of it, and then I
Yeah.
rewatched it again probably a couple of years ago, and
Hmm.
it's a good show. I'd probably,
Yeah.
you know, pretty good show. I'd probably get like 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially for like network shows. You know, a lot of them are
Yeah,
kind of a dime a dozen, but yeah, so that was fun. We tried to go back through his table to like actually talk to him a little more, but
yeah,
it was Sunday, so it was like the last day, so they were only doing like autographs and selfies and stuff
mm,
apparently. So yeah, and he had to leave pretty soon after that. But yeah, yeah. Also, like we got to see a panel with Bruce Greenwood and Carlo Gugino, which was pretty interesting, and we got to
mhm,
meet Bruce Greenwood as well and get a picture with him. My mom's been a big fan of his since like some older show from like the '90s. Um,
mhm,
and then like I think one of the last things we did on Sundays, I got to meet Kobe Smulders from like the Avengers and How I Met Your Mother and everything. And she was
mhm.
really nice to us and like really nice to my mom and like invited her in the picture and was talking to her and stuff. It was pretty nice,
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, like some of the I mean, I wouldn't say any of them are usually very like mean or rude. There are some
Oh,
that are kind of awkward. Like I was listening to one guy and he was talking about Will Poulter who was there last year, and
yeah,
he was like sometimes they have the celebrities like behind these curtains, like their whole
yeah.
tables encircled in curtains. I guess they don't want photos or
Any
whatever.
photography or whatever, or they
Yeah,
want it to be more exclusive or something
yeah,
for some reason.
yeah. But I guess the guy that was talking in the line with me like tried to shake Will Poulter's hand, and he was like kind of awkward for a second. And then he gave him like an awkward fist bump. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
I feel you're going to the con to meet the friends, not the friends, the fans.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like even though you're doing it all day, it is your job for the day. So I feel like you should give it,
yeah.
100%. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, you don't necessarily want like you know 1,000 people touching you all day,
yeah. That's
but
also
like
like then
at
you
the
would have a
same
sign or
time,
something, or maybe you did have a sign that
yeah,
said "Please no contact" or whatever. But
yeah, they don't have to be like awkward about it. You know,
yeah, yeah,
most of them are pretty chill if you're you know nice.
yeah,
So,
or not
you
creepy.
know,
I feel like if you were a creepy
right?
person,
Yeah, yeah, there was like that same guy that was in line was like saying there was this one lady there, like 5 years ago, and during like the photos, some guy was like groping her and stuff. It was like creepy. It's like what the fuck,
yeah,
like what the hell, people, nasty. But I also got to see a panel with the comic writer Tom King and artist Mitch Gerads. They've done quite a few comics. I've only really read one of their things they've done together, but they've done like a Mr. Miracle and a Adam Strange comic series together. But Tom King
mm,
is like one of the creative people that James Gunn has brought on to like do a lot of the
yep,
executive creative stuff, and they're adapting his Supergirl series that came out a couple years ago into a movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, and speaking of Tom King, I did get quite a few books signed by him. I got like some Supergirl comics signed. I did get the first issue signed as well, but I got that
Okay.
sent off to be graded
Yep.
because CGC was there, and I thought it was just for signing, but apparently they do normal CGC submissions there as well. So that was so.
Oh, that's
I also
cool.
got yeah, I got Lethal Protector #1 there. You
Okay.
saw that, and I sent
Yep.
that off too because it looked like it was hopefully in good condition.
How much
But yeah,
did you get that for? The Lethal Protector.
it was like 20. I think it was originally like 40, but it was
It
25%
was
off.
on
So
sale or whatever.
yeah, so it was probably like I'm bad at quick math, but it was like 30 something.
Well, it's not a terrible deal. It really just depends on how they'll grade it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it like it looked good. Like it looked a little better. The I got Spider-Man 2099 #1, and that one has a little more like it's still in pretty good
Wear on it.
condition, but a little more wear on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I got a lot of Tom King books signed, and he was saying that like the Supergirl series when it first came out, it wasn't really selling very well.
Mm.
But like as soon as they announced the movie, it started to like sell like crazy. So that's fun. But yeah, so that is all the fun stuff. Let's get into the comics so that
Yep.
we got. Now I know we were a little more particular this year, a little more like discerning, I guess, with comics because I've been trying to get into more like serious collecting as opposed to just like that looks fun, that looks cool,
Yeah.
like so I've been trying to more like fill holes in my collections and like get
Instead of just grabbing everything.
yeah, or get really cool like key issues like Lethal Protector #1 or Spider-Man
Yeah.
2099 #1. I got yeah, so I got a few. Let's see here. I got Spider-Man 2099 #1. This one, like, it's in good condition. It's got a little bit of like a nick here and stuff that would probably take it down, but I don't see it. If it got graded, it probably wouldn't be lower than like the nines. I don't know. And then I
Yeah.
got
High
this
eight.
this one, Infinite Crisis #5, which is the first appearance of Blue Beetle, or
Mm.
that Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
So I've been looking for this one, and I'm surprised that he had it. It was a little bit pricey, but it is a little pricier of a comic, and it was 25% off. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think eventually I'll send those in for grading, but that's expensive.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as I thought, but it's still it's honestly the add-ons that add more, like the
Yeah.
pressing. If you want to do the pressing and the shipping. The
Mm.
shipping is the big thing, especially if you don't turn it in at a con. Shipping to them and then back
Shipping
is
to them and then
expensive.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was expensive enough just paying for the shipping, back
Like
to me,
back.
so submitting it
Where are
there. And
they? Where are they out of?
it was I think Comic Pop something. They're like a authorized reseller type thing, but they
Yep.
basically have their own account with CGC and they use their account to submit your books. So
Okay.
like you pay a little bit of a fee, but they, but like
They'll
it is
handle it for you.
yeah, exactly. And I had to have like a witness there when I got my Supergirl book signed.
Yep.
And then they just kind of got to make sure like the chain of custody or whatever is there. But CGC, I think they've recently partnered with JSA, which is an authentication service, and apparently you can send in your books and just add on like autograph authentication as like an
Mm.
add-on service now,
Yeah, because they could just
which is
like
kind of
mirror it
nice.
or whatever, and like
Yeah,
check it out.
it used to be you had to like get it authorized separately and then send it in with like the proof of
Yeah, all together
authentication.
as a
Yeah, which
package.
I'm pretty sure JSA was there as well, but I think they were just called like Comic Pop Art or something there. But I guess they're there every year, which I thought they were there last year, which I guess they were, but I thought that they were actually like a CGC booth. I didn't
Mm.
know it was like a authorized CGC, submission service or whatever. So, but I'll definitely keep that in mind for next year because I definitely had some I wanted to submit, but I didn't bring them because, I thought that they weren't gonna accept normal books that weren't signed.
Yeah.
what did you end up getting this year? Like, what were you looking for, and what did you end up finding comic wise?
So my main goal going in was I was trying to find pretty much I collect Spawn by image,
Mm-hmm.
and I collect the King Spawn, the Curse of Spawn, the regular Spawn series, and just some offshoots and
Yeah.
like one-offs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
pretty much anything that Spawn catches my
Just
eye, and I
Spawn.
have
Yeah.
to look through it, or have to ask them, do they have anything? And
Mm-hmm.
usually the answer is like 25% yes, 75% no. It's
Yeah.
very dominated by Marvel and DC.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was looking for um, older Moon Knight stuff from the
Mm-hmm.
original series or the Mark Spector series.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was looking for that. Moon Knight and Spawn were my big ones, and that's what I mostly spent my time looking for.
Yeah.
In years past, I I have spent a lot of time looking for the third generation Iron Man
Oh, yeah. I
comic.
remember that. Yeah, like
I
the
have
Invincible ones, the
yeah, the
Invincible Iron
Invincible
Man.
Iron
Yeah.
Man. I have almost the whole collection of those, but
Mm-hmm.
it was too much work to go through it this year, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I don't really want to do it." Even though
Yeah.
in like I have a Google Sheets and all that stuff set up
Yeah.
for it. It's just I was too lazy to look at it, so I didn't end up looking
Yeah.
for anything Iron Man related. Even though
Yeah.
that is probably my biggest collection is all Iron Man, but I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't look for it.
Yeah.
But this year alone was Spawn and Moon Knight. That was my biggest focus going into it.
Yeah.
And I found a couple good ones. Not as many as I was hoping, because most people, as I said,
Didn't
they
have
don't
them.
really
Yeah.
have that. They usually
Yeah.
don't have much Dark Horse or independent stuff, other than
Yeah.
they have some Image, but most of the stuff that they do have, I already have. So it's a little
Yeah.
disappointing. Oh, and another thing, I was really looking for the Lethal Protector series, the
Right.
original
The
run,
last issue.
last issue, number 6, and I was like,
Yeah.
I really want it, and if I found it, I would have paid money for it,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
But
that's strange. I would have expected, I guess, the
I
first
would
one to
have,
be more rare, but
yeah,
it
I
seems like
could
it's
not
harder to get
find
the
it at all.
sixth one. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody had it on their back walls or anything. It was just I'm gonna have to buy it online, I guess, or
Yeah. Yeah,
something.
that's kind of surprising. Yeah, I was able to find number 1, like I said, and I was able to find
Yeah,
number 3 as well. That was just in like a $3 box. But
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, for me, I did mostly filling holes in my collection because like I have a bunch of stuff that I collected when I was younger, and I would just kind of collecting them as they came out, like a bunch of New 52 action comics. And I started collecting Amazing Spider-Man like around 2013, 12 or something. So I just like collected a lot of those. But as I've been going on, I've been kind of like filling holes that I kind of like I didn't, I missed a month or something. So I've mostly just been kind of trying to, collect the ones that I missed back in the day. So I got quite a few of the Spider-Man ones I needed. I got this one Spider-Man one. I think it might be a little bit, overpriced when I got it, but I was like, screw it. Like this is the only copy I
Oh,
found.
yeah.
So, and like it's like this part of the Spider Island run or whatever, and I had all of the issues except for this one. So I was like,
Which means
screw it,
it's
I'll
worth it.
grab this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. And like I got a lot of like random shit which I shouldn't have, but I got less than I used to. Like I used to just buy like everything that looked cool. But the thing is, when you have like a $1 bin, it's like that feels worth it to just get it for $1, even though I'm only a little interested in it. Like
yeah,
I got a couple of these old Crisis on Infinite Earth issues that came out in the 80s. And these were only a dollar each, so I was like, screw it,
yeah,
I'll just get them. And I got the first issue of Berserker, which is like Keanu Reeves, um, like comic series that he co-wrote. It's pretty interesting, but like I got a one shot of it, I think last year, but I decided to get, this was in the dollar bin, so I was like, screw it.
yeah.
It's actually
Why not?
it's actually pretty interesting. I kind of want to read it like in full, but and then a lot of other stuff was just kind of like dollar stuff or like this. I did get a little bit like this looks cool and got this like a first issue of New 52 Justice League,
Mhm.
and then just a lot of action comics that I needed. And I've been collecting a lot of the Nightfall story arc in the Batman and Detective comics. That's like the whole thing where Bane breaks Batman's back, all that stuff.
Yep.
So I just collected a bunch of those, and oh yeah, and then for some reason, since I read The Authority
Mhm.
last year. I
Yep.
started collecting a bunch of Stormwatch, which is kind of like the predecessor to the Authority, and like they're all in like dollar bins. So I've got like the first 21 of them, I think. So
Yeah.
I had a couple holes, so I just got issue 10, 11, and 20. So now I have like the first like 21 issues for no reason.
Yeah.
It just became one of those series where I'm like they're so cheap. I kind of just like collecting them. I
Yeah.
haven't
Why the
even
hell
read
not?
any of them. Yeah. But yeah, so that's fun. This is that Lethal Protector number
Yeah.
3 that I got, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I did actually find a lot of good action comics that I was looking for because when I was younger, I started with issue 4, um, and then just went on from there. So I got the first 3 issues. I was able to find them for pretty cheap, which
Mhm.
is nice. I've been looking for those ones for a while. Oh, this Amazing Spider-Man! Like I was just missing like one issue in like a string of like 17 of them. And I did a bit of an oopsie. I hate it when I do this, but I got multiples of the same comics because I
Yeah.
forgot I forgot I picked them up earlier that day. So like with so I got some Action Comics ones because I was missing like 24 through 30, but I got two of 26. And
I know that's the problem when you're
like
buying so many and you're just like, ah, put them
yeah,
in the pile, put them in the pile.
I don't know
You
how I
start to
missed
forget.
it. I don't know how I missed it because like I specifically went back for these ones because I thought I didn't buy them at first because I wasn't sure if I needed them. But yeah, so I got like two of 27 and two of 28 and two of 29, which I would be much more upset about if they weren't a dollar each. That's like
Yeah.
what? That's $4 extra. Oh no, like, that kind. Who cares? But yeah, so I got some of these. Oh, and I did actually find this Daredevil comic I've been looking for a while. I'm actually surprised that somebody had it, but it's Daredevil 283.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like I honestly heard about it on like I think the official Marvel podcast. They were talking about it, but it's just this really interesting book where like Daredevil and Captain America team up to basically like save a bunch of people in like a lower income, community. And it's not really like they're not really fighting villains. It's more of like just kind of like a I don't know. It's honestly kind of more like a political story, like talking about like the fucked up stuff that was happening at the time, I guess. But I've been looking for that one. Got a surprisingly good price for it. Then there were a bunch of others that it just kind of like I've been doing this I think since last November, where I'll go to like a dollar bin. And they'll have a bunch of new kind of like overstock comics, but they've come out recently. I'll just grab a bunch of ones that I've been kind of interested in, but I didn't feel like paying full price to actually read them.
Yeah.
So I just got a bunch of like dollar comics of new ones that I've been wanting to read, like the new Green Lantern series. I don't feel like paying, $4 or $5 an issue. And I've found like a newer Flash one that I've been looking for. So I did find, I did get some pretty decent success. But to be fair, a lot of what I was looking for was, cheap comics. So like newer
Yeah.
ones that I just kind of needed to fill in my collection. But yeah, so I mean, I had some decent success, but I wasn't looking for anything that crazy. I think I did find, so I was looking for the comics like the issue where Bullseye kills Elektra.
Mhm.
I forget which issue it is, but I did find one copy of it, but he was charging like $70 for it. And
Heh.
he had it like just in there with a bunch of other comics. Like normally when people are charging that much, it's like
Yeah. It'll be set
set
aside or it'll be
apart. So I was
stocked.
like, that's a little expensive, dude. And I was looking at how much it's worth, and it's not worth like $70, not ungraded as far as I could tell. So I was like, yeah, I'm not paying $70 for that, which is unfortunate. But I could probably get a better price on eBay or something for
Yeah.
that issue, like depending on the condition. Like it looked like decent condition, but I don't know, it wasn't really worth it. Um, yeah, I meant to ask earlier, but Like, what got you into collecting comics? Because you're not like much of a comic reader. You're more of just a collector and then put it away, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
like,
I'm
so
bad
like
at
what?
reading.
Yeah. So like, what draws you to it? Is it just like the fun of collecting it, or do you like the characters? Like, what kind of draws you
Uh,
to it?
Usually, so I started collecting Iron Man
Yeah.
because when I was younger, I was like 13 when I went to
Yeah.
my first con,
Right.
and I was much more at the age of um, I care more about like superhero movies and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I cared a lot more about it then than I do
Yeah.
now. But
Yeah.
that's the first character that was like, ooh, I really like that one, and
Mm-hmm.
I really wanna collect and see that like the series go to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and back then I did read a little more. Um,
Sure.
so I did read a lot of the ones that I got,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I just kind of fell out of it. I really like having the just a complete full like collection of stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
It's just for a lot of things. I collect a lot of stuff. It's
Yeah.
just the act of and having that collection, and the
Yeah.
sense of accomplishment that you have when you
Right.
get it all together.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's probably mainly it now.
Yeah.
Uh, and comics are just so cool. Like
Yeah.
there's so much hard work put into the story and
Mm-hmm.
the cover art and just
Yeah.
the illustrating, everything about it
Mm-hmm.
is it's such a cool thing to collect because there's just so much effort put into every issue. And
Yeah.
if you
Very
can get
true.
some of those more harder to find issues, and it's just puts a good feeling in your head.
Yeah.
Um, that's mostly why I do it now. And I just pick some characters. Like I think Spawn is a really cool character. Same
Yeah.
thing with Moon Knight. Venom's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just pick the character,
Yeah.
just whatever character draws me most. I'm like, okay, I choose you.
Yeah, that's kind of how I started doing it as well. I mean, for me, like I started with Spider-Man, so I've like
Yeah,
always been collecting Spider-Man books like ever since I was younger. Like started with these crappy little reprints they put in the newspaper.
yeah,
And then I started like I think I started getting comics at Comic Cons like with you. And then
mm,
I started collecting them from like an actual comic shop. So that's like what I do now. I still get a lot from comic shops, but
yeah.
I think for me now cons are more ones that I can't get so much in comic shops, you know.
Yeah, because they have a really good variety of
Mhm.
old, really
Yeah.
old, and then newer. Where
Yeah.
you go into a comic shop now, they might have a couple bins of like older stuff, but
Mhm.
it's usually all new material, and I don't care as much about that
Yeah.
stuff because I'm a
Yeah.
collector. So I like
Right.
to collect like Spawn Volume One. That's what I like.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have a lot of that, and if they do, it's all gonna be
Mhm.
priced out the wazoo. So
Yeah, exactly. Like for me when I get stuff from from the shops, it's mostly cuz I'm interested in actually reading whatever like series or
yeah,
issue it is, but sometimes I do get lucky and like I'll buy a new book that ends up being worth a lot more in like a week, so there's that. But for me at the cons it's more just getting ones that like some stores, some comic stores do have like some a lot of back issues, but I've pretty much gone through all the ones in my local shops and haven't really found a whole lot. Well, okay, I found a decent amount during there was a free comic book day sale, and I ended up finding a lot because they were doing like a big sale. I think it was like I don't know, like 75% off a lot of the issues in the boxes. So I was like, heck yeah, like that's like less than a
I'll
dollar for
take a
some of
look.
them.
I'll take a look. Why
Yeah,
not?
and I ended up finding a lot of like Daredevil ones, and that's actually where I found those Supergirl ones that I got signed,
Hmm.
things like that. So I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good deal. But for a lot of the other stuff I've been looking for, I've either had to go on eBay and
Yeah.
buy like specific issues on eBay because I think I had some newer Daredevil, well, not Daredevil ones from like the early 2000s that I had to like I wanted to finish collecting a certain arc, and I had to go on eBay and buy them specifically,
Yeah.
but because I didn't really feel like waiting for a con to
That's the
you know
that's the
do
thing. It's
that.
like I could complete like a lot of collections and I could probably do it
Yeah.
cheaper if, oh,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna spend an hour and just search all this stuff up online and hopefully it comes
Yeah.
to me in a good condition. But
Yeah.
just for me, like the thrill of it is going to the con or like finding it in a box
Yeah.
and like, I pluck you out. Now you're mine.
Yeah, that's kind of the experience, like, going to a con and, like, searching through all the different boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like freaking hard work, like, by the end of the day, you're like, "Shoot." Like, I feel like I've been doing
I
so much
I'm bending
work.
over all day, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there is something about just the atmosphere and the fun of the actual Comic-Con itself. Plus, you can hold it in your hand and see the condition and be like,
Yeah,
is it worth buying? That kind of stuff. And like you said earlier, like they have a lot more selection there at the cons because it's more like people with their like personal collections or people that have like a store, but they
yeah,
also incorporate a lot of their own collections. So there's a lot more variety in general. It's not just like a stored inventory.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At the first shop that first vendor that we stopped at, he
Hmm.
said that he just he saves up boxes throughout the year
Hmm.
of just whatever people bring him into the shop or whatever. He buys collections and stuff, and he saves
Yeah.
them and he puts them in his basement, and then he
Hmm.
waits until the con and he brings them out of the con.
Yeah.
Obviously looks through them to see if there's anything actually valuable in them, but
Right.
brings them to the con. So then it's just so much that you can't just throw it on your shore
Hmm.
store front. It's just too much
Right.
space.
Yeah.
So, but at the con, you have a huge table. You just throw it all out there, and yeah,
Hmm.
you just don't get that at a lot of stores because they just don't have
No.
the space for it just to have
Hmm.
long boxes and stuff
Yeah.
like everywhere.
Yeah, and I will say that does make things feel more rare than they are sometimes when you can't
Yeah,
get them in like a comic shop, but then you go to the con and they're like a dime a dozen. There's like there've been a couple times even this past weekend where there was an issue I was looking for. I knew it wasn't worth a lot, but I got there and they had like 5 to 10 of the same issue I was looking for. I'm like, oh, okay, so this isn't a very rare book at all.
yeah,
This is yeah, I can see why it's in the dollar bin or $2 bin. But yeah, so and I think there is definitely just kind of a I don't know, there is a spectrum of vendors at cons. There are the people that just have the big boxes. They're just kind of like, yeah, I've got like a bunch of $1 comics, just like
yeah. Look through
buy
them,
anything. But
have fun.
but yeah, there are a lot of people though that seem to be more like definitely trying to get more money out of stuff, which
Yeah,
some of their stuff isn't necessarily worth that much. Like there are some that like they usually have put things on sale there, like 25% off, 50% off, but they're always kind of trying to get a little more out of you, which I get. I mean, if you invested into a bunch of comics, you want to get some money back if you're reselling it. But there is this kind of a wide spectrum of, like the $1 comics vendors that just have like really cheap stuff, and then there's the other ones that have more in the middle, and then most of them have stuff like hanging on the walls that are like ridiculously priced because they're like graded or really rare. Like I saw an
yeah,
Invincible #1 comic last year that was $600, and I've looked recently and it's probably worth more like close to 900 now, which is just crazy.
insane.
Yeah, it's insane. That thing with slabbed comics is like it's so weird because like I really didn't think about getting into slabbed comics until recently
Well, it's
because
just so
like I've
much
been
money when you're thinking about it. Like when you're younger and you don't make as much
yeah,
money, you're just kind of like, hey,
yeah.
hold off. You want $150 for one comic?
Right,
No, thank you.
exactly. Which now I'm kind of a little hesitant to buy slab comics. Like I would rather take the ones that I know are worth a decent amount and get them graded and everything
Mm,
and invest in that way and kind of like build my slab collection with comics I already have, that I know are going to be worth an okay amount. You just kind of have to decide if it's worth the price of sending it in because some of them are only worth like $50 graded. And
yeah,
by the time you send it in and get it graded and hopefully get the highest grade, like possibly like a 9.8, maybe a 9.6, then by the time it comes back, it might not even be worth that $40 that you
yeah,
sent it in for. So I've mostly only been setting aside my comics that I know are going to be like $100 or more slabbed, because then that feels like a little more of like a worthwhile investment, or like ones that I know are probably going to appreciate in value, like that Supergirl comic that I got signed. I feel like it's probably going to go up in value once the movies like starts when once the movie enters production and comes out and everything.
yeah,
I feel like it's probably going to increase quite a bit, especially considering. it's based specific the movie's based specifically on that comic, and having like the first issue signed by the author might be good. I don't know. I
That's
have
how it
to.
always goes. Whenever
I
the piece
Yeah.
of media comes out to support it,
Hmm.
it skyrockets. Like Lethal
Yeah.
Protector, like you said. You
Yeah.
how much you get it for? Like 20 something bucks.
I probably got it for like, yeah, for like 30 something,
Yeah,
and that was
but
on
like
sale.
you can find them like, you know, even just like a 9 or whatever, like their
Hmm.
rating, it's like
Yeah.
50, $60 on their back wall, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
that I think
Yeah.
I got mine like the year before the
Yeah.
um Venom movie came out, the first one with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
I got that for like $10 or something,
I
15
know.
bucks. And,
Yeah.
now it's in pretty good condition, probably sell it for,
Hmm.
50 bucks or something like that.
Yeah.
Really depends, but it it's just how it always goes with anything that's like got a movie coming out, like with Moon Knight when the TV show came
Yeah.
out. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
huge spring and Moon Knight
Hmm.
content, and
Yeah.
everything just goes up in price. But
Hmm.
that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and I will say it's really hard to like predict the trends sometimes. Like, I'm not one of those guys. It's just too much work, and I don't understand everything to fully be like so into collecting. Like, like, oh, I know when this is gonna go up and this is gonna increase the value, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are times when you just kind of don't know for sure. Because like I have a comic that I got back in the day that was the first appearance of this Spider-Man character called Silk. When it first came out, it's like, yeah, okay, it's a new character, that's cool, but now it's worth like upwards of $80-$90, and I got it for like four. So I'm like, geez, you just never really know. And then
Never know.
a new Ultimate Spider-Man series launched, and like I try to get first issues of something that sounds interesting or will be popular, but that one like skyrocketed in like a week. It got up to like like $70. I was like, geez, what the heck? Like, it's just kind of crazy when that stuff happens. But sometimes you buy something and you're like thinking it's gonna be worth something, and then it's
And
only
then
worth like
it just goes
$8
down.
maybe. Yeah, or goes down. Like there are plenty that I probably got for full price. They're now like $3 when I paid five. And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
that's nice. But I feel like I have enough that are worth more than what I paid for. That
Counteract
it's
it.
worth it. Like it's a worthwhile investment in the end. I feel like,
I think probably we've done a good job in like
yeah,
outbuying our collection or whatever,
yeah.
like for the
Well,
price
and
that I've spent. I think.
I I will say the dollar comics are a very, very, very good deal because yeah, they're not worth a whole lot, but they're usually worth more than a dollar. Like
Yeah.
usually they're worth at least like two, which doesn't sound like a lot, but technically
Just
that's
double
twice
the
what you paid
value.
for it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So buying a bunch of $1 comics, yeah, it's kind of but at the same time, like if you want them, they're probably gonna be worth more than a dollar, so it's
And
kind of
that's
worth
eh,
it.
like where we're talking about this, and it's only if you care about the value of it. If you're
Yeah,
just
for sure.
collecting them to read, and it's just I
Hmm.
care about the story, then it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
how much they cost,
No.
or
Yeah.
what their value is after you buy it. Oh,
Mhm.
who cares? Oh, this one's got a nick in it. Oh, it's not going to be graded a 9. It's going to be way down. So it's like
Yeah.
but you don't care about that. Like some people don't.
Yeah,
So, but
exactly.
I'm
I
not one of
I
those
kind of
people because I'm a collector and I don't read 'em.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I kind of strike a balance between, just getting them cuz I want them and trying to get ones that are valuable cuz I mean, I sent a couple off to be graded.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I don't like I really like it. I honestly enjoy the reading of them more than the like collecting them. Be like, oh, how much is this worth and everything. So
yeah.
it's more like So I kind of like strike a balance between the two. That's kind of the enjoyment I get out of it. And yeah, have you really thought much about selling any of your collection?
I've
Cause like,
thought on
yeah,
occasion to take in some of my key issues and stuff to like
hmm,
cons because
yeah,
pretty much every vendor, if you ask them, "Hey, do you buy?" and they'll say,
yeah,
"Yeah, 100%." It depends on really just what you have, and
right.
I know I could sell some stuff. Like I have Moon Knight #1, and it's in really good condition.
Yeah.
I could definitely sell
Yeah.
it. I definitely won't sell it for how much I paid for it, but
Yeah.
um, like you can. I've thought about it. I've thought about it,
Yeah.
but probably not anytime soon. But
Yeah.
I've
I have yeah.
I don't think I have enough. for like I see a lot of people like they sell the whole collections to like comic book shops and
Mhm.
stuff. It's like I'll give you a couple grand or whatever for it, and I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
maybe in a couple years or something, but not at the moment. I've thought a little bit
Mhm.
like of certain ones, but it's like I collected them for a reason, so
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about selling anything really as of yet.
Yeah, same for me because a lot of why I collect is to have it and have a
Yeah,
collection. So it's kinda like, even if it's worth a lot and I could get some money for it, I
I'd
don't
have to
really
fall
want.
out of it. Like
Well, yeah,
S
and
God forbid
or
one day you
need the
stop
money.
collecting. Oh, yeah, yeah, or you need the
Yeah,
money. I
yeah.
don't ever really see that happening,
No.
unless it's just like, "Ah, it's too much work. I don't feel like going to Comic-Con. I don't feel like going to the
Mhm.
comic shop or going to the, comic meetup or whatever. I just don't feel like it." And, well, there's not really any
Yeah.
reason having it anymore if you don't feel like adding to it. So it's,
Right, exactly.
I guess I'll
Yeah,
just
because
sell it.
I've definitely thought of selling the ones that I have now that are, have increased a lot in value, but then I think like, yeah, but then I'd want to go out and buy another copy for myself, So it's
Yeah,
like, like I kind of want it. So I feel like for me, I'm probably only gonna sell like what you said if, I just don't collect anymore for whatever reason, or for some reason I really need the money. But the thing is, even selling them all, it's such a like it's a lot more than what I paid for them, but it's still a really small amount of money in the long run.
yeah,
Like it wouldn't really pay, like I'd probably get, maybe 4 to 5 grand for everything I have,
yeah,
which like, oh cool, that's $4 or $5,000. But what can I really do with that that's substantial? Like I could live off that for, a couple months maybe. That's like what like if you have a steady income, that's not a huge amount of money that
yeah. I'd
is
rather
worth
just have my
selling.
collection.
Yeah, like it's not worth getting rid of something that you really enjoy and has like meaningful value to you.
Yeah,
So,
because as long as I still enjoy it, I'm gonna continue to do it and add to
mhm,
it. So that's mostly what it is about,
yeah.
is just enjoying yourself and, whatever makes you happy, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like with some of mine I do have like full runs of some comics, so it would be kind of nice to hold on to them and sell them at some point as like full runs.
Yeah,
But I guess for me, I wouldn't mind getting rid of some of those that I just haven't touched in like years. I'm like, yeah, they're cool, but like I have the full like Superior Spider-Man run. I'm kind of curious what it would go for the whole run. Whether it's worth selling, or if it's if my sentimental value is worth more than the actual money. But yeah, so yeah, it's always kind of the balance there, striking between like it being an actual investment and just being an enjoyable hobby.
yeah.
But it is, say it's a really expensive hobby, which it is, but a lot of
If you
hobbies
do
are
it,
very expensive.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, pretty
especially
much any
adult
hobby you're gonna
adult
get into.
hobbies,
Right, adult hobbies, yeah, exactly. Like if you do any sort of, leisure activity like golf
any
or sports
sport,
or something,
or any
yeah.
collecting, or
Mhm.
anything that you like to do outside of work. It's just, this is
Yeah.
costing me money, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I know it exactly. It's like, yeah, it's always kind of a bummer, but at the same time it's like if it's worth it for the enjoyment, then,
Yeah,
it's worth it. You just kind of have to like make sure you have money set aside that you can spend on it,
you have to think
so
about
you
it.
don't feel like
You have
crap
to
when you
consciously think about it. Make sure you
yeah.
don't just don't. "Ah, I'm gonna clean it out all this one day." Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, right. Like, oh well, I have like $300 in my savings. Goodbye forever. No, like, yeah. I might not make rent this month, but it's worth it. No, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Unless you had anything else to say, but that was our
Not really.
experiences at Comic Con and kind of our, I guess, our experience with comic collecting. Obviously, like I kind of said earlier, but I'm not, a super professional comic collector like some people, but it is something the last couple of years I've gotten more serious about it, I guess. I guess I've just paid more attention to how much things are worth and like what the
Yeah,
trends look like and stuff like that. So, kind of striking a balance between the leisure and fun aspect of it and the actual like investment aspect.
yeah, and I think the probably coming years and stuff. that I go to do it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put a little
Yeah.
more effort in. I'd like to make like
Yeah.
a something physical because I like having my
Mhm.
phone there and I can, do all that.
The
But
service
I
is awful
the
though there.
service is awful in the building, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
what I'm gonna do in the future is I'm gonna print off like a checklist, and I can
Yeah.
have all the ones I want, and I can
Mhm.
have like their average prices and stuff like,
Yeah.
headlined right next to them, so I don't have to keep on looking at my
Mhm.
phone because it's just a pain, you know?
I'm probably gonna do something like that
It's a
too,
lot
because
more
it was a
easier.
pain trying to pull stuff up, and, like, I wasn't sure because I didn't have it written down, and if I like, my list was online, so if I couldn't
Yeah,
access the internet, I
yeah,
was like, "Ooh, that's kind of an issue," so and I saw some guys there with, like, a clipboard and, like, a piece of paper that
yeah,
they were
it's
checking
they
stuff
they
off, so
they know what they're doing, they're a lot
yeah.
smarter.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna start doing too, just to make
Yeah,
it easier and yeah. But
yeah, there's a lot of ways you can make it a lot more easier on yourself, and
mhm.
it's just a lot more work,
Yeah,
but
exactly. But I mean, in the long run, it's worth
it's
it. But
worth
in the
it.
moment, you're like, "Oh, this is a pain in the ass." But then when you actually get to the con, you're like, "I don't know what I wanted to get," you know. So,
Yeah,
and the
or,
thing with
like,
me too
not
is
recording what you're buying in the con, because
w-
like, after the first
that,
time, I'm like, "Man, I bought, like,
yeah.
20 comics. Oh,
But now I
shoot,
don't
I
remember what I
forgot to
got.
record them.
Yeah,
I already put in my bag, and now I have to take a look at them."
yeah, exactly. And like for me too, like I have a bunch of stuff on my wish list, but it shows the cover next to it. So for some issues, I get confused whether I have this, like whether I'm familiar with the cover because I own it or because I keep looking at my wish list. So I'm like, do I need to buy this or not? I wish I actually had a physical
Yeah,
list. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yes, thank you.
I don't think I've ever had you on this podcast
I
before. You've
do
been on
not
my
think so.
my my other one, but not my comic one. So yeah, thanks for being on here. It's a fun time. If you would like to support The Cultured Nerd on Patreon, you can check us out at patreon.com/The Cultured Nerd. And if you'd like to support The Cultured Pull List specifically, you can look for our show's specific tier on that Patreon page there. I've been your host, Michael Malillo, and my co host this week was guest co host James Wagner. And
Yeah.
our current thanks to all of our current Patreon supporters: Wesley H, Mitch S, Connor Y, Anna M, Oscar B, Craig L, and Salib K. A big thanks to Jose Navarro for designing our logo and our visual assets. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this episode, and check out all our other episodes. We've got quite a few. If you'd like to check out the Cultured Nerd or the Cultured Poll List on social media, you can scan the QR code on the bottom left, and there will be a Linktree link in the description. And if you would like to check out Casual Experts, me and Luke's other brand, we got our own YouTube channel or another podcast, all that fun stuff, social media. You can scan the QR code on the bottom right.